Well, we have a double treat for you now. One of my new best friends is a sixth-generation descendant of Fletcher Christian, and she's the second of 7 siblings. At age 16, she moved to New Zealand and then returned to Pitcairn in 1971, met her husband Leroy, and eventually married, and now they live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they are in very close touch with the family still left on Pitcairn. That is Marie, of course. Tony Probst has been showing you his magnificent slides all along. We've seen them every morning before we've started our sessions, and both Tony and Marie are going to talk about her days growing up on Pitcairn and what Pitcairn is like now. Tony was fascinated by Pitcairn since he was a young boy. He, his mother, his father, and brother and sister left England for sorry Sean, they beat you out, a 14-year trip around the world. 14 years. They did not go to Pitcairn on that trip, but he did get there eventually. The reason I mentioned the sailing trip is that he was given the books Mutiny on the Bounty and Men Against the Sea, which inspired him to visit Pitcairn someday, and he has 3 times, and he's going back again very soon, I believe. Tony is a foremost maritime collector and has probably the most extensive collection from the Titanic and wondrous items from the Bounty. I have urged you before to take a look at the showcase over there, and I'm going to urge you again. Tony was generous enough to bring those here for us to see, and he'll be happy to explain, perhaps after the conference, what the various items are. They are just amazing, and he'll show you the most valuable piece. So do take a good look. Marie Christian Thomas and Tony Probst, we're looking forward to this presentation, and it's going to be the ultimate session for the conference.
We're going to start off by taking a little trip through Pitcairn present day, and we're going to end up with Marie taking you through a trip through Pitcairn's past. And we have photographs here going back to the late 1800s. I'll just get set up. We should come up in a second. Actually, we'll do this. What happened? Oh, it's continuing to go from what I was doing this morning. We will start here. Yeah, we're still, oh well, I'm going to do it the other way. There we go. I threw in a couple, I took about 26,000 pictures on my 3 trips to Pitcairn, and I've got it down to about 200, and hopefully I'll have time to show you the 200 pictures. This is just sights that you see out of the airplane on the way to Pitcairn. It's a beautiful flight there. This is actually Mangareva, just outside the airport. And this is the first trip to Pitcairn. This was a sunrise shot I took the day that we saw Pitcairn, and we just saw it it was actually straight ahead there, about 2 hours from sighting it. And there's Pitcairn. And you can see how big it actually is. Actually, it only looks like an island from the sea. When you're on it, it's different. And get some shots getting up closer to it. and Adamstown from where the ships anchor, and you can see the landing. And we'll take in a little adventure. Most of you saw the video that I showed on opening night of off the edge of ship's landing point, and we'll see the still pictures that I took along the way there. The landing, and there's the longboat coming out to pick us up, and we're at the landing on Pitcairn, and a long shot there from across the bay. There's no boats in there. Okay. And the hill of difficulty, that's looking up the hill, of course, and from about halfway up, you can see everybody down at the landing. They're getting actually ready for a picnic. They're cooking underneath the green tent, and if you look just off to the side of the green tent, you can see the Bounty, the little model. This was Bounty Day in 2010, and you can see the kids playing in the water there in Bounty Bay, and that was the sailboat, the Southern Cross, that we took to Pitcairn. And they're actually fishing down there on the jetty, and the longboat is getting ready to go out to the Claymore, and this was 2 years ago, I believe, when they were doing their eradication on Henderson, and they're about to take a trip out there. And they're all down on the dock there, which we'll see. There's the Claymore, and there's Olive taking all the kids for a fish. We ate all those that evening. And they're taking the trip out to the Claymore there with all the supplies. I think Paul and Sue there, they went, I think they spent a total of a few months on the island on Henderson. And heading out, and this is at the top of the hill of difficulty, looking back down into Bounty Bay. And this was actually a really nice shot in real life. There's still a little bit of light in here, the colors of the red. This is off the small edge. The edge that everybody refers to, that when you hear that, is actually on the other side, a little bit further over there to the right. This is a little bit more difficult to get to nowadays. It's all overgrown. And you don't want to get too close to that edge. It's all very, very loose soil. And that's me next to the Bounty anchor, and I'm still mystified to this day how big this anchor really is. The Bounty is just a little over 90 feet long, and this anchor here is probably about 12 foot long. That's what I figured, and so the Bounty is only probably 7 or 8 times longer than this anchor is. And Tom Christian, I stayed with Tom and Christian on 2 occasions on my first and second visit. And that's Paul. He supplied me with my transportation around the island, and you probably heard me mention about keeping my bike running when I talked to him. And Paul's one of the, I would say, I would call him a master carver. He's given me many carvings over the years, and probably one of my most prized ones is like a Fabergé egg, all beautifully detailed, and in the legs of it is a whale's tail going down that he carved through the legs, and you open it up, and he carved a beautiful obsidian whale sitting out of the water with his flippers and everything going. He makes these really strange things for me. And I have a pterodactyl wing at home that's in the rock, and he's making me a pterodactyl to hang up on the ceiling. It's supposed to have all the fangs and everything as well. I'll probably be about another year before I see it, but I understand it's in the works. There's a close-up of Paul's jewelry. And he's actually a teddy bear. And we're going to take a trip up to Christian's Cave here. This is taken just around the corner from Tom and Betty's house. And looking at it from down below, and it is rather difficult to get to. It's most people can make it up there. I would say on a degree of difficulty from 1 to 10, I would say Christian's Cave is probably about a 4. It's not too bad. Most people can get up there easily enough. And the worst part is actually this the part that I'm on here right now. It's you got to, in some cases, use all 4 appendages to get up there. And a view from inside the cave, looking down at Adamstown with ship's landing point off in the background. And a little closer shot. And Mrs. T. This was right after the big storm that they had this year, and Mrs. T had not got rid of her coating of mud. I don't know how she fared, if she went through a landslide. And this is her on a cleaner day. This was pictures I took probably about 3 years ago. The other pictures we just saw was this April. I don't think you want to get your finger in there either. She's got pretty powerful jaws. And I've tried to figure out how old she is. I believe she arrived on the Yankee in '51, and rumor has it she's probably about 200 plus years old. And this is the path down to down rope down to the petroglyphs, and the only beach really on Pitcairn today. And I would give this a degree of difficulty of probably about an 8.2. And you literally, that's where we go down. And this is Jackie. She was my guide on this trip. And that's the beach. We can see it in there. We'll have some closer shots in a minute. But this is just really to show you the path that you come down from where those coconut trees are on the side there, and you work your way down. And there are no ropes. They are just on your own hands and feet. And down at the petroglyphs, I'm putting my own mark in. Jackie gave me permission. I'll show you a close-up of my etching. Yeah, along the cliff there. And the one picture I meant to say that was that showed down rope from the ocean was all the textures of Pitcairn. There's just such a variety of color. This is an example here, those yellow rocks that Brenda's standing on there. And you can see the different colors. That's the yellow rocks down there along the shore that she was standing on and where they came from. And I think this is the only place on the island that has those yellow rocks. We're going to be seeing different colors and textures as we go along here. And that's looking down at where the petroglyphs are and the beach. And the only sand there is there. And this is, I just step back a bit. Down rope is just down below us here, and that's looking at the St. Paul's pool, which you can just see right at the corner there. And again, you can see all the colors. There's yellow rocks in there and reds and everything. And that's St. Paul's pool. And this is from down below and by the pool. A couple of waves coming through there, and there's rainbows when the waves are up. The rainbow, I've actually, unfortunately, didn't get a picture of it, but sometimes arc over the whole, both of the arches, the spires there. And it's actually relatively calm out there right now, and you can see actually how far the waves going up there. That's probably about, I'd say, close to 30 foot high. And this is a whole series I took of a wave coming through. You can see how calm it is. There's really not a lot going on. And I just snapped these off one after the other. Same wave. And I wish I had audio to go with that. It's quite an experience. And we're going to take a little trip around Pitcairn now again, so you can see the size of Pitcairn. And this is around the east side where the St. Paul's spires are there. Yeah, and there's the spires from the sea. And the frigate birds are quite tame on Pitcairn. When they're cleaning fish down at the landing, you can actually hold up a piece of fish and they will come and take it right out of your hands. But you need to wear gloves because they will take a little more than the fish sometimes. And this is coming down to take the fish out. I don't have the pictures here of them actually taking the fish out of the person's hand, but there's Dave there. He just about to give it a piece of fish. And it's not, unfortunately, it's not dark enough in here to really see these pictures. I'm not really a photographer, and all my pictures are just experiments. And we arrived on the Claymore in 2011 in September at 2 o'clock in the morning. We actually got there early. And we were just drifting off the island, and the moon and Venus were directly above the island, and I took a whole series of pictures just by Pitcairn lit up by the moon. And if we had a dark setting here, you could see a lot of other stars around. And this is just a collection of those shots and some nighttime shots I took on Pitcairn. And you can see Venus up on the top there again. And this is over Randy and Nadine's house where I stayed this April. And again, there's a multitude of stars if we had no light in here. And this is over Tom and Betty's house. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I just wanted to take some pictures. And on this shot here, you can see Orion and the Orion's belt. It's upside down there. And yeah, these are all quite remarkable in a dark room. And yeah, I did take them with a tripod, but I didn't want to go with a long exposure because then all the stars would look like they had streaks in there. So I was just experimenting. I probably took about 1,000 pictures this night and probably got about 150 decent ones. And this is my favorite of all. This is just outside the square. It's about 3:15 in the morning, and there's just a multitude of stars, and there's even clusters. You can kind of see the groupings of stars, and they're all individual points. There's no light pollution on Pitcairn at all after 10 o'clock. The generator goes off, and the multitude of stars is just amazing. And that ship's landing point with the stars above it, I zoomed in on it a little bit. And this is a picture again about 3:30 in the morning off the edge, and this is the only light is the moon. It's at least 3 hours from sunrise. And if we had a darker room, you could still see it, the sky is still blue. The color of the sky does not go away at nighttime. We as humans can only see in black and white at night. It's still blue. The camera picks up all the colors. It looks like this is just a very dark exposure, but it's really nighttime shot, and there's a multitude of stars in there as well. And this is down where the Bounty is, just off the landing. The Bounty is just in the water. This is where they would have come ashore, and that view towards the point there, and again, all the stars. And there's also a lot of stars here. It's kind of hard to see looking up at ship's landing point. And the sun is going to start coming up here. This is just when it's just starting to peak red on the horizon. And there's a few sunrise shots here on Pitcairn over Bounty Bay. You can see the reflection there. And the reason why I have such nice color and everything, I don't use automatic settings on the camera at all. I actually underexpose all these because when you take a picture of the sun, it all blows out, the camera all white. If you turn the exposure down, you will get beautiful color and shots like this. And this is from where the Bounty came ashore. She's just off right here. And this is my favorite one of all, which is that one down there. It was quite a special moment. All of a sudden, there was just this burst of color, and the pictures I took a few seconds before and after were nothing like this. It was just once-in-a-lifetime shot, I guess. And during the day, this is again just down from the landing, close to where the Bounty is off on the rocks out there. And this is over Ted's side on the other side. And every time I've gone there, I've gone to check on this tree, and it hasn't fallen over yet. It still mystifies me how it defies gravity. It's just growing out the side of the hill. And I think this is one of the most beautiful walks on planet Earth here. This is Gannett's Ridge, and you can see the trail along the top of the crest there. This is probably a degree of difficulty or 2 or 3. And I really would want to say 1, but there's been quite a few people that have refused to go out there. You can actually see how quickly it drops off on either side. The path in most cases is probably 3 meter wide before it drops off. But it is a very rewarding walk. Yeah, you have to shimmy along the side of this rock here, and there's the end, and made it. That was an easy one. Yeah, Betty took this picture of me. She took me out here, I think every time I've gone out. It's one of her favorite walks. And the Norfolk Pine at the end, and Christian's Cave is, of course, directly underneath there. And there's Adams Town from the top, and Christian's Cave is just over the side of those white rocks there. And there's Jackie's house, and Tom and Betty's. And Thursday October's house is just in where that group of houses are there in the center, where the water towers are. Just on the other side of those towers is where Thursday October's house was. And that's the banyan tree, the big massive green there beside Tom and Betty's. And we can see the square, and the museum is the building with the red roof behind the square. And a little close-up of the square. This is all from the top of the hill back there. And we're going to take a little trip up to Ship's Landing Point now. It looks like a face there. From a certain angle, you can see like the eyes and the mouth. And this is from where the Bounty, they would have come ashore, looking up at Ship's Landing Point through the trees. And zoomed in a little bit there. And you can see how steep the face of the cliff is there. And this one here, you can see how what they call the nose there is fracturing away. It's probably going to drop off in the, I don't want to say near future, but it's the gap is widening. We're going to see how big the gap is actually at the top. I have a photograph of it. And this is up on top on the walk out there. This was just after the rain. The colors were just beautiful. This is probably 6, 7, 8 weeks after the landslides that they had, and there was still some rain, and the vegetation was just going crazy. It was actually very beautiful. And Adamstown from Ship's Landing Point, we can see the Norfolk pine on top of the ridge on the other side, just above the cave. And that's the small edge, the really red part that I talked about earlier that's relatively difficult to get to right now. And it's actually very steep, so getting down, take a picture off the edge is, just have to be careful. And this is the hump, just above the, this is probably the highest part. It is the highest part of Ship's Landing Point. You have to get over the hump to get down to the nose. And the only way to get down there is sitting on your butt and just slowly working your way down. It's actually a lot steeper than it looks in the photographs. When you look at it from down below, it actually looks like a relatively easy walk, but it's a little more difficult. A few different views. There's Brenda. She took me on my first trip out to the edge. And that's looking over to the right. A little closer in at the point up there. And we're on our way out to the nose. You can start to see the landing and the jetty. And there it is. And there's the crack. So it's, I would say it's separated now by about this much. And what I really wanted to do when I was there is get a little epoxy glue and a stick and glue it on there, touching it, and next time I come back to see how much the separation is, if it is. I've heard different rumors of when it started to crack. Some people say that it got worse when they were dynamiting out the harbor. And it probably makes a little sense. There was probably some vibration up there. They did use a lot of dynamite. And we're going to see pictures of that with Marie's presentation. And there's Brenda with her toes on the edge there, looking over the edge. And that's the view that she had. And there's me up on the nose. And that's the very edge of it there. There is a little place where you can put one foot in there, feel relatively secure. It was a little windy when I was up there, and it was actually a little fortunate because the wind pressure, when I was leaning over taking the pictures, would hold me back. I just didn't want the gust or something to stop at that moment. And there's a picture over the edge. And this is such a wide angle. It's probably about like that. This is actually made up of 53 different photographs. And out of all the photographs that you've seen, there's only 2 of them that have seen Photoshop or a version of it. And this is one of them, and there is one other. All the rest are pictures out of the camera with just the camera settings. So yeah, this one here is made up of, I don't really know the exact count. I think it's about 28 pictures. This one's a little less. And this is further back from the edge, and you can see a little bit lip there of the rock. And climbing back up. This is the hump part. And yeah, you have to walk along the top of the peaks there to get back up to the hump. And then when you're back up, this is the sight that greets you. And we're going to go down to the Polynesian village here. I've shown some people, I didn't put them out. I have some stone tools if anybody would like to see them that come from the Polynesian village here. But Brenda, I mean, she's, I don't think even mountain goats would be able to keep up with her. She never wears shoes. We're going down, she's walking through very sharp lava, some of it quite steep, and she's got a kid on her back. And the Polynesian village is about halfway down. She took me all the way down to the water's edge, and there's a beautiful waterfall down there. And you can cool off, and we're heading back up to the Polynesian village, and you have to go through all this stuff to get to it. And there's a bunch of the stone chippings. There's just a large grouping of stones that have obviously been chipped. They're flakes off of it. There's really no real tools there. The only things that you will tend to find are tools that are broken, that they've discarded. And on the way back up, happy little kid there. And you see it's quite a hike. It's relatively steep. I don't know why I put that in. There's goats on Pitcairn. And so there's no surfing on Pitcairn, and because the wave break is, the Pitcairn just drops off very deep. And so I've coined this land surfing. This is Bradley, Nadine, and Randy's son, and he was giving me a demonstration on how to land surf. And he's actually coming down at quite a fast clip there, and of course in bare feet, and it's just broken up lava. And the ending is off a little cliff, you fall on your bum. And yeah, we're going to, Randy, this is Randy's boat here. He's taking me out for a trip around the island. I wish we had time to see all the pictures here, but the water there is, I would say, at least 50, 60 feet deep, and you can see the bottom. The clarity of the water on Pitcairn is unbelievable. There's a few shots from around the island, Christian's Cave. And this is Pitcairn's golf course. And we've got Mars Beat there. We've got our face in the rocks. And that's Len and Brenda fishing. I managed to get the wave right in between the boat, you know, between me, the boat and myself. And Pitcairn's church today. And an early morning shot at the graveyard. This is right after I took over the pictures of the sunrise there in Christian's Cave. It's actually very hard to see Christian's Cave from the graveyard. I had to stand up in a high point and hold the camera up quite high. Okay, on a degree of difficulty of 1 to 10, this one here probably comes as close to 10 as anything you're going to find. This is the Gods. It's on the just around the corner there. You can see the rock. There's a pile of ash here, and there's actually petroglyphs here as well. And we'll see them in a second. And this is from the water, and getting to it, you have to walk around cliffs like this, and it's just a straight drop down into the ocean. And I should have probably gone barefoot, but the sandals worked okay. And this is the carvings in the rocks down there. To me, it looks like somebody was keeping track of time or something. And the two pieces they refer to as the gods are there on the left and right, and it's what believed it was maybe some Polynesian gods or something. And they were actually chiseled out at one time, and they're cemented back in. There's a close-up of them. And getting back up, it's, I think, a harder feat than getting down. And I was actually stuck at one point where I couldn't go up or down, and Brenda just walks down to me. I mean, it's just like almost a vertical cliff like this, and she gets out a knife and she cuts a couple of little chunks out of the rock, so I have a little place to put my fingers to continue on up. Yeah, actually, go back. Yeah, I don't think you'd want to sneeze at this point. It's probably about 600 to 700 feet down there. And we're almost back up on solid land. And this is the red soil again on Pitcairn. And I was on the hunt for the reddest soil, and I found it right there. It's right above St. Paul's Pool. Brought a little bit of it in. And this is launching the longboat and getting ready to go home. A few islanders there, we're loading up. And there's the signal, wait, So we're actually going to be talking a little bit more about this on the older photographs, but he's giving us signal to wait, and when it's all clear, it's time to go, break in the waves. And the boat we were on this time was actually on the other side of the island, and they're saying goodbye. This is from another time. Andrew up on the bow. And some going, gone pictures. This is the picture that's down here. I think it's the sharpest picture I've ever seen of Pitcairn. The detail in this one is quite amazing. And this is a mixture from the 3 trips. And that was the sunset on the last day there. So that's it for the present day. And now we're going to do Pitcairn past with Marie. Should I explain where the pictures came from? Okay. Where these pictures came from that you're about to see, the island has entrusted me with their decades of photographs. Like I said, we have the oldest picture I have is 1890, and I have about 2,000 photographs going back to that period, most of them in the 30s and the 40s. And I've digitized them all, and one day hope to put together a coffee table book. There's enough being written about Pitcairn, so this is probably going to be primarily photographs with captions. On 2 of my trips to Pitcairn, I took little recorders and I interviewed everybody, regarding the content of the pictures. And we've identified almost everybody in each picture, and we've also come up with a story for each one. So we're going to show a little bit, and a lot of them are of Marie here, who I guess is going to talk a little bit about growing up in Pitcairn, and we have pictures of her as a little girl on the island.
I'll just explain a little story about me before we start.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Marie Christian Thomas, and I want to thank each one of you to be here. I want to thank Barbara and Ted for everything that they've done, and also Herb. Everybody's done just a fabulous job, and for all the friends that are here that was at the Bounty Conference in 2005 in St. Petersburg, Florida. Thank you for coming. Most of you have met me, but some of you may not have. And I was born and raised on Pitcairn Island, 6th generation from Fletcher Christian of the Mutiny on the Bounty. When I was born 2 pounds in birth weight. My mom fell, and I came early. There was no doctors, no hospitals on the island. But I sure have made up for it now. They nursed me up, and I grew to be a pretty good-sized woman. My mom and dad is Linus and Gifford Christian, and I am, like Barbara introduced me earlier, I'm from a family of 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and we were all raised on Pitcairn Island. And I want to thank Tony for putting the slides together. Just before we came to the conference, it just got to be kind of busy, and so he was able to put them together. And so we will go through them and explain a little bit on Pitcairn Island in the old days. Some of the pictures were taken before I was born, so we'll go through them, and I want to thank my husband for being here. I'll introduce him to you at the end of the slideshow. And so this first one was taken in 1971, and some of the dates I will not mention because they may not be correctly, but some of them are very old. This is how I looked when I met my husband Leroy in 1971. And then from here on, we will go to the old pictures. And this is a very old picture. It was taken in about 1890 at Bounty Bay. And this is before any of the modern houses were built, and the roofs were made of just palm leaves that are put together by the women, and the men put them on the boat houses. And of course, all the old rocks aren't there anymore. So it's quite an improvement now than way back when. And this is Thursday, October Christian. You've probably noticed this in some of the books or some of the pictures that they have out. And then the next picture is Thursday, October Christian's house. Way back when they first did the houses, they don't use the tin roof like we do now. It's made from the palm trees and put together, pretty crafty. And then this is an updated one a few years later. They have changed the roof into a tin roof, and also a garden that they have put. You may notice there's steps going up to some of the houses in the pictures that we have, we're going to show, and they're on stilts. And the reason why, we don't have that much flooding, but underneath the houses, we use it for storage. Like if we do firewood, we store the firewood underneath the houses. Because when I was young growing up there, we didn't have any modern conveniences. We walked everywhere. We didn't have motorcycles. We don't have four-wheelers. We don't even have a telephone. We did within the island, and it's old-fashioned that you wind the handle. And each family had their own codes that they can call each other, which is basically the Morse codes. And we didn't have indoor plumbing. And I think some of you probably was grown up without indoor plumbing too. And this is another view of Thursday, October Christian's home, which is kind of just falling apart at that time. This is a very old picture of Bounty Bay. You can see that the houses here again, the boat houses, the bigger ones are the boat houses for the larger boats. The smaller buildings are for the fishing boats, but they're all made out of the palm tree roof. And the jetty wasn't made at this time. You can see the Daddy, Mommy, and Flatty on the left-hand side of Bounty Bay. And you can see the beautiful sand beaches that we have there. But the sand had been used and hauled up to the Adamstown to be used for building the foundations for the schoolhouse, the church, and some of the buildings then. This is a close-up of the houses that you can see with the thatch roof, and also the slide that the boats are pulled up and down out of the bay.
And I found out that the longboat on the side there is called the Dumpy. All the boats had names back then.
And this is another picture that was taken off Pitcairn Island. What year was that?
This is 1916.
Okay, way back in 1916, so. And on this picture, you can see that the longboat is going out of Bounty Bay. It's pretty rough. I think most of you have either been to Pitcairn Island or you've seen a lot of the movies. Sometimes it could be pretty rough. Sometimes it could be pretty smooth sailing. At this point, there's one motorboat, and you can see the motorboat is pulling the second boat out of the harbor. Way back when, before they had the motorboat, they would row. The men would row the boats out of the harbor and do the sail. And in this particular picture, there's 3 longboats. And back then, you can see how crowded they are before the people start leaving Pitcairn Island to go further their education. And these are a couple of the boats that the ship, because they didn't have motors in the boats, the ship would tow the boats closer to be outside Bounty Bay, so they don't have very far to row or sail before they go into the harbor. There's more pictures of them rowing the boat. It was really hard work back then. Right now they have all the modern conveniences, and this is another picture of the one boat that has a motor, and they're towing the other 2 longboats back to Bounty Bay, and then they're returning, and the men are rowing the boats in, returning from the ship. This is one of the longboats that is in full sail, and just going out around the island, or maybe going out to a ship. But this was taken way back before they got the motors in the boat. On this picture, it was taken at the main street. And looking up in the background, you can see Christian's Cave. And the tall tower is the first tower of communication to Pitcairn Island, and this was taken outside of Andrew Young's house, and from there they can communicate only by Morse code, and then they went into doing ham radio to keep in touch and connection with the outside world. This is a picture that's taken of the first post office on the inside. We have 2 pictures of this particular one. This is the picture, and Tony had cleaned the old one up, and this is what he does. It's amazing how different they look. It looked like a brand new photo, but this is the inside of the post office, the first post office.
And when I was on Pitcairn this time, I went on a hunt for that safe, and I found it. It's actually in the store, and it's still on Pitcairn, that safe.
This is outside of the post office. You can see that they're waiting for mail. Some of them have already received the mail from the outside world, and it's always nice to get mail. We all love mail, emails, mails, or whatever, and so they're excited to hear from their families and friends. In this particular picture, we use a 44 drum of empty drum, and they are destroying stamps in this picture where the old stamps you can no longer sell them, and the same here, the school children got to help destroy. And in the checkered dress here is my niece Jackie. And so everybody gets involved. We do everything like a big family on the island. And in this one picture here, as you can tell, it was taken before the jetty was made. And this is a flying fox. They no longer use the flying fox today. They're loading up goodies that they had just gotten from the ship, and the flying fox hauls it up to the edge. There you can see a picture of the flying fox. This picture here shows that the longboats and the fishing boats were made locally and made out of wood from the island back then. And so it's built in a particular area. And on this day, the longboat was finished, and they were bringing it down to Bounty Bay. And everybody gets involved. Some of us just stand around and watch, and some of them help pull the boats down. This boat had just come ashore from a ship, and it ran a rock, and it couldn't come all the way into Bounty Bay. So everybody jumps in the water and grab a load of goodies and bring it ashore until the boat's light enough to be able to come closer to the shore. This picture here is Millie, and displaying some of her handiwork, some of her sun hats and fans and baskets. And the child in the middle is Betty Christian. And she's grown up a lot since then. And this building here is the first schoolhouse on Pitcairn Island. And all the adults and children are eager to learn. This picture here is a picture of the new schoolhouse at Pulau. And you can see the art room and the main building. This is inside the schoolhouse, and this is Mobley. He's our first school teacher. And this one here is myself and one of my sister, Daphne. Daphne and her husband was here visiting with us in Albuquerque for last year, and we had a good time. This is my one of my brothers on the left-hand side. It's Clem, and then Betty, and Daphne and myself standing outside our house. This picture happens to be Coronation Day, and it's in front the First Church building, and everybody stands and get the pictures taken on this particular day and dress up. Most of us are wearing shoes and socks, whereas usually we go barefooted. And this is myself. We learned to play the guitar and the ukulele quite young when we were growing up. And this one here is my sister and Ruth and myself. We had gone out to collect tea leaves to feed the goats. So those are wheelbarrows, which I don't think they use anymore these days. We used to have to push them up the hill to either get firewood, or we use them to haul everything, usually loads from landing up to the edge. And this is myself and Brenda, and Ruth, Brenda's sister. We're displaying the bell, a new bell that we had just gotten. This is myself on the left, growing up, and Auntie May and Betty, and my younger brother, Bill. These are some of the school children, and I'll let you find out which one I am. And we were posing for a picture from a visitor who came to Pitcairn Island. There's Melva in the front there, and just a school kids. This is Christmas Day, a long time ago, a few years ago, and on Christmas Day on Pitcairn Island, like we do in America, each family gets together and they have their own Christmas tree, their own Christmas celebration. On Pitcairn Island, everybody gets together as one happy family, and the men go out in the morning and they cut trees down and bring them to the square. And there's little holes. If you've been to Pitcairn Island in the square, there's little holes in the pavement in the square, and they put the trees up in the holes there. And where these presents come from? I guess Santa. No, not really. It's amazing on a little island like that how many gifts there are on the trees. And everybody, even if you're a visitor there, everybody gets a gift at Christmas time.
Murray.
Okay, this is down landing, and the kids are sitting on Mummy, the stone called Mummy. And what we do, there's a rope you can see. On this particular day, it's a boat in the harbor, and they just hold the boat so it don't go out or go in before it was ready. And usually we have a rope that goes from one rock to another, and we would hang on to it. And when the waves come in, we would just have a lot of fun. This is another view of Bounty Bay, and before it was, before the jetty, before the tin roof, and...
This is one to start with, Dan. Actually, the next one is Millie, who can talk about Cookie, the rock, the one sticking out there.
Okay, you can tell me.
Okay. Yeah, this is a story that I've dug up. It's probably best to tell it. If you look on the right side, you see that big rock. It's named Dan, after Dan Christian. And in the old days, he used to stand on top of it and guide the boats in and out when the waves were, correct to go in and out. And if you can see the rock where the wood planking is, there's a rock sticking up out there. That was actually broken apart. And it actually came apart in big slabs, and they used it for the ovens in the homes. And the next picture, we're going to see one of those ovens. And it's actually Duddy, Mummy, and Flatty. Duddy was the nickname for Thursday, October. It's D-U-D-D-Y. And this is one of the ovens that was made with Millie in front of it. And these are cans of dynamite used to blow up the harbor to make it deeper. And you can see the phone line and the power line wrapped around Dan. And Dan has actually fallen here. They blew it up shortly after this picture. And there's actually a picture, it might be the next one. Kids and everything used to sit underneath Dan in the shade. And when they removed all the sand to use for the concrete, Dan actually fell down, and they thought it was too dangerous and they would blow it up. And that's putting dynamite out in the bay. And you can see the flying fox, the wire coming down the side there, and Dan is still over there on the side. And there's a dynamite explosion going off. And you can see Dan, this is when it's in its upstate, you can see the nice hole underneath there. It was a nice shade place to hang out. And there's Dan falling down, and this is actually a photograph of them putting the dynamite in Dan to blow up. And it was used as fill for the jetty. And this is Bounty Day taken from on top of Dan. There, you can go back.
Okay, this is another picture of the motorboat coming in with the Andro steering the boat, and then the two other boats under full sail coming towards Bounty Bay. They do not sail with full sail into Bounty Bay. It's too dangerous, so they do have to take the sails down before coming in, which most of you probably knew that because it's too dangerous. That particular time with the sails going, they're making a trip to O'Eno Island. And this is at nighttime. They usually leave Pitcairn Island to go to O'Eno in the early evening and then spend all night in the boat. And by the next morning, they arrive at O'Eno. And so they're just taking a little sleep.
Yeah, that's Brenda there on the side of the boat, young Brenda.
This is more shots of O'Eno trip. This picture here is my mom and dad, Gifford and Linus Christian. They both have passed away now, and but they spent their life on Pitcairn Island and raised us all. And this is another picture of my sister Daphne and younger brother Bill, myself, and my dad. My mom at this time was in New Zealand. She had to go for some medical reason. And then when she came back, then in '63, we packed up and went to New Zealand to start and outside life. First time I've ever left Pitcairn Island. This picture here shows me we start young. This is Ruth and myself. We're probably young teenagers at this point, and we all learn how to weave the baskets. I have some out here. I did not make those, my sister did. But preparing to weave the baskets is a really, really hard work. And but we all learn how to weave, how to cook, learn how to work hard, and it pays off after a while. Myself babysitting a whole bunch of kids while the parents are having a night out, maybe going to a movies or something. It's myself just posing. I just probably fed the chickens that are sitting there. This is down at Tom and Betty's house. This is our daughter, Anne, and our son, Graham, and Betty and Jackie in the background there. And this is another picture of my mom and dad, myself, a younger brother, and one of my nephews. And this is the three sisters, Marie, Daphne, and Betty, in our garden. This picture here, they said it was a baptismal, but I think it's just a rocks that we had gone down for a picnic down at Isaac. And the young kids usually just go swimming, and we take a sack lunch down there and just have a day out. This particular one is a fishing boat, and this is back down Bounty Bay. The sea's a little bit rough, but see how shallow the harbor was before they did the dynamite? You can just walk out there when the surf is low tide. You can walk quite a ways out. This picture shows that a ship came and they donated. This particular picture looks like potatoes. They count and share out a pile for each family on the island, and each one gets a pile, maybe half a dozen of potatoes or something, and that's how we do the share out. This is a picture of, if you see the people up on the top, I think they're going down rope, and is another view of the down rope. How many of you have been on Pitcairn Island and have gone down rope? Is that a very exciting trip? One in a lifetime, probably. How much time we have? These are the carvings which you all are familiar with. Let's just move it on. This is climbing up the path from rope. And this is our kids, Graham, and this is Betty, and then our daughter Anne on the side of one of the motorcycles. That was probably in 1971.
There you can cheat. The date's on the top, 70.
Oh, okay.
There's a little description with each one you could read on top.
And then this is my mom and dad and the two children. And this is Leroy, and I'll introduce you to him in a little bit, holding our son Graham and Anne and myself, and there's Tom and Jackie. Jackie was a beautiful baby. She still's beautiful. And this is Leroy and my son. And this is the day Leroy left, and then myself. And that's our daughter doing a little hula. And this is a big surf, and the kids going to school, Sunday school in the church. This is another picture of sitting on our veranda looking out. You look right out and you look on the ocean. And this is Jackie. And this was taken in 1971. And that's our daughter Anne. And this is myself down at the church, and this was taken in 1972. And just some little island pictures. There's a frangipani or plumerias. And this is taken down Isaac. This is the last night with my family before I went back to New Zealand. And this was taken in '72. And that's my mom and dad and 2 children and some neighbors. And that's down landing the day I left on the Wellington Star to go to New Zealand. It's myself there that's going out to the ship. Climbing the Jacob's Ladder. And this is my husband and I had our wedding in Hawaii on our way from New Zealand to Albuquerque. So that's it. Before I sit down, I would like to introduce you to my husband, Leroy, if you'd like to come up, hon, please. Oh, I'm falling apart. Most of you did meet him outside, but I want to officially introduce you to him. We just celebrated our 38th wedding anniversary, and So this is Leroy, and we live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I want to thank him in front of you all for bringing me here. I love you all, and thank you so very much. Want to say anything?
Oh, you did beautiful.
Thank you.